Hello, welcome once again to the J Lowe Artist YouTube channel. Thanks for joining me on this artistic journey. And today we'll be working with colored pencils. So you'll need your number 2 or HB pencil, a kneaded eraser, and some good quality colored pencils. Oh, thanks for being here today, by the way. I appreciate you coming along and drawing with me. Drawing with a black and white photograph. It's a lot of fun because you're not really concerned about your colors, just your values. So you want to choose colors that give you a full range of values. We started out with dark purple. Dark purple is a great one for shadows. Cream is just good for your lights. And of course, you're going to need a little bit of white, just a little bit. For the most part, there's not a ton of white. Same thing with black. There's just not a ton of black in there as well. Indigo blue is always a good one because it's dark. So between those two, I've got some nice dark colors. And you've got your yellow ochre and your cream. There's your light. I'd augment that with maybe poppy red, this orangey red. This is good for like noses and hands and ears. Okay, so there's 5. Now let's choose something in between. And it's kind of whatever you want. This mulberry, it's kind of a purpley red color. It's called mulberry. Maybe some of this Tuscan red. So now I've got blues and purples. Maybe I need a little bit more blue somewhere. So just pick out your prettiest blue, whatever you think that you're going to like. I like this true blue. That'll make a nice mid-tone, something within the flesh tones, and because it's going to be on this purple, it's going to turn a little cooler. That's probably a good range of color for me right there. You really want about 8 to 10 colors at the most. So the first thing we want to do is sketch out with our white charcoal just where everything goes. I'm just going to say, well, I want her head to be right up at the top. So I'm going to make myself markers. If it comes down, that head and that shoulder are almost leveled. So if her shoulder is there, her head's going to be just about right in there. So I've just made myself some little markers. Just said, this is kind of where I want it to go. Her head is almost half of the page. So if I come down and just, here's my halfway mark. It's not quite up there. There's her chin. Just going to make a little mark there and just say that's kind of where the chin goes. Then this whole area is going to be her head. And level with her chin, then, if that's her chin, then her hand is going to kind of come off here somewhere. Just a little bit. Maybe in that direction. There's her hand. Curves down. Not going to worry about that other hand that's in the shadow. Just going to leave it out. Just not going to worry about it. There's her fingers. Her shoulder. Comes up and around. Her arm. And give or take, I mean, we might have to adjust this a little bit. Neck, there's hair that comes over the neck. See, I'm just blocking it in, using my white pencil to just block it in. There's some things that we know about where the eye placement is in the head. If you look at the top of the head and the chin, your eyes are just about right in the middle. And sometimes I will put a little line here and just try to get the same direction, because your eyes, your nose, and your mouth all have to go in the same direction. So sometimes I'll just put a little line there and say, this is where the eyes are. And then I can throw in an eye. It's about right in there somewhere. Bridge of the nose. Here's the other eye. She's got her cheek kind of comes out. Curves into the chin. Tip of the nose doesn't quite touch the outside of the cheek. It's about right in there somewhere. You can just block it in. Just say this is where the tip of the nose goes. It comes straight down from the tear duct. That's where her nostril goes. if you come straight down from there, and you can say, well, there's the outside of the nostril. Corner of the mouth is about the middle of the eye, so if you come down from the middle of the eye, you come down, there's the corner of the mouth. I think we talked about these proportionings already. Mouth slightly open, give yourself a little bit of space there for those teeth to show through. If you want to block in the hair, you could go ahead and block in the hair. It's not that important if it's slightly off. You know, if your eyes are off, everybody knows it. If your hair is off, they just go, oh, bad hair day, or whatever. So comparing things, parts to parts, that's called proportioning. So I compare things like the size of the eye. If I did one eye here, there's probably the space of one eye over there. Then you've got her ear that's in there. It's hard to see her ear, but you can see the lobe. And then it's like covered up with hair. All this hair that kind of comes in here. And that's probably fairly good for our white charcoal. Now, the white charcoal can be erased. There are places where you may want to erase it. So there's just certain spots that I think I'm just gonna just erase enough that doesn't confuse me. And then look over your proportions. Look over everything. Make sure that it's kind of where you want it to be. We still can change things. Nothing is set here. So once I'm done with that part, I can get rid of my charcoal. This is kind of a fun composition too, because you've got all that space off to your right that you can use, and then that left part is just lined up. Just a fun composition. Just works out well. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my dark purple. I like the dark purple to start with because if you make a mistake, this is easily covered. If you start with black or some other color that's dark, it's hard to cover. I always start with eyes, just because eyes are the windows of the soul, and they're so important. So start out with your eyelashes, establishes the size that you want your eyes to be, and your iris. There's a little shine in her eye. No, it's hard to see. I always assume that there's going to be a shine in the eye anyway. So when I do the pupils, I always do these little crescent moon shapes. So then it kind of start out like this. Sometimes it's good to have one of those vinyl erasers on hand. Not that we use it very much, but it might be nice to use. I kind of darken this too much. So if I went in with my eraser, I can erase most of it out of there. It'll still be okay. It's interesting that off eye, how that eyebrow almost touches the bridge of the nose. Almost. It rolls into the eye. Just a little sliver of an iris that is seen on that side. And that is already a lot in shadow there. And the color of our paper is going to be our shadow. So I'm just going to throw that in a little bit. Then I'm going to use my purple, kind of like a pencil, where you can say, well, I can see those shadows. That little core shadow. Remember to leave yourself a little bit of reflected light on the tip of her nose. Just a little bit. Just shading in some of those darker areas with my pencil and allowing some of that pink to show through. Some of that I know I'm going to use indigo blue. So I'm going to kind of add it in there. Remember, when you're doing teeth, don't draw lines around the teeth. And if there's reflected light and you think, I just don't know what I'm going to do with that, don't worry about it. You can come back into it later and add some more. Drawing in the shadows is going to help you get your proportions as well. So this purple is kind of nice. You can, if we've made a mistake, we can cover that up a little bit. And that white charcoal, I can see where I was a little bit too large on that. That's easy to get rid of. We can get rid of that. You can even use your finger to just go over the top of that if you wanted to. But that's easy to get rid of. And you probably noticed that I didn't draw a line around her face. It's because all those shapes, they're going to take care of themselves. Okay, we're going to do that with other colors and with white or cream. So just let it go. Ever so lightly. Don't need a lot. We'll come back into it with more later. It's interesting whenever I draw portraits, the subtle differences of where you place the values or how they curve or turn really make up the character of the person. We're all so different. Also, remember when you're doing eyes that there's always a little bit of space right underneath the eye. That's the lid, your eyelid, the thickness of your eyelid. Just leave a little bit of space there. Your eyelashes do not come right out of your eye. Again, you just try to be as close to correct as you can. You can always adjust. When you're doing hair, you just pick out the darkest areas and do these little zigzaggy shapes. Remember, hair, because of the individual strands, your shadows are going to be very broken on the edges. So you just kind of pick out those individual shapes and just leave those areas kind of broken. Don't do single lines all the way through. Hair is an entity, it's a shape. It has mass. And they kind of all work together. So don't think of them as individual strands. For now. Later on, sometimes there's little hairs that kind of get away from you here and there. You can maybe use those, but for the most part, just kind of pick out the little shapes of dark and light. And your line should go in the direction that the hair flows. It gives that illusion of hair. In fact, this little area here is fairly dark. I'm just going to darken in that area down below the ear and in the ear. I can always come back in and add some more later on. At this point, sometimes I like to do the light parts, because then I know where the light parts are, and the light and the dark kind of help establish your form. Fingers, don't worry too much about fingers. People, I think they worry too much about fingers. All you got to do, just the dark areas around the fingers. And when you're done, you'll think, oh, there's a finger. So like these little areas around the knuckles. And then right where the finger kind of attaches to the hand there, usually a little bit darker. And so if you do that little shape there a little darker, you'll have it. You'll be fine. Just try to get the size as correct as you can. Not sure if she's holding on to her hair or what she's doing there, but it doesn't matter. You just draw what you see, and hopefully it'll work out. Try to get as much information as quickly as you can. So drawing as much as you can, because you need that point of reference. You can always change it. You can always alter it. But you need a point of reference. Too many people recognize that something's wrong, and then they erase it. And when they do, they erase their point of reference. They get rid of their point of reference, and then they draw it bad again. Got to keep that point of reference in there. So once you get in your initial drawing with the purple, then I would go into the light. I mean, you've got your darks now. Let's do the lights. And that light's going to help us. So I'm going to just use my cream. I'm just going to go over anything that is light. So any of those little sections, if it's not as light as you think, don't put it in. Just let the color of the paper show through. So if there's some little reflected lights or something that you think, oh, that's about the same value as the paper, just leave it alone. Let that paper just show through. You want to let that paper show through anyway, because one of the reasons we do it on this paper, or on this colored board, it's called a grounded board, grounded paper, is so that you get some continuity between colors, you know, your background, your foreground. Whenever you're painting, you always want your background, your foreground to be like the same, or at least some of those colors integrating, so you get unity in your work. I'm not adding a lot of pressure to this either. I just want a little bit of that contrast between the warm, the light yellow and the purpley, pinky purple of that. I may even want to come in once I get to this part and I say, oh, you know what? I might have some highlights in there and use some white. But as far as the face goes, that might be all I need. I want maybe put just a little bit in there, in the eye, maybe a little in that shine. That'll pull it out. That'll make it better. Hair, there's a lot of light in the hair. So in between some of those darker areas that I put in there, you can just throw in some of these little light. This is a great way to do hair, by the way. So easy. And look how that hair looks like hair. And if you wanted to add a little bit in the background, you could do that too, like around her face here where it's a little lighter. You can take and add some of that into the background if you want to. That'll help define that edge as well. So that's kind of nice. You could probably even do that with charcoal if you wanted to, and just smooth it all out. Hair doesn't have to be perfect. Maybe if you want it to be, that's one thing, but it just has to look like hair. Light down the fingers and on those knuckles. And that'll help define those fingers as well. Just a little on the knuckles and just down the middle of the fingers. That's the light. That little wrist bone always has a little bit of light on that too. Remember, we want to go as fast as we can. Just because we don't have a lot of time, and your mind works better when you push it, when it goes a little faster. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring some of that blue in just to help define some of these shadows. So I'm going to go back into my shadows, go in with my blue. You could do this with blue, you could do this with the magenta. You know what? I like that mulberry idea. Maybe I'm going to try this mulberry in there. It's a little on the red side. It might might or might not work. I'm gonna go back over some of that purple. I'm gonna, as I leave and go out into the light areas there, that purple is gonna mix with some of that. You don't have to go everywhere with it. You don't have to go overboard. Just do what you feel like you need to. Some of that I want to just leave out. Leave that pink of the paper in there. I may not want to do that everywhere either, just here and there. Like I say, what's more important here is your values. So then you go back into it and you go, okay, I need to go a little darker. You can go either again with your purple, or you can add some blue. I'm going to try this indigo blue in there, and just use that to get some contrast. So I'm just going to go back in, and any place that's really dark, indigo blue. You kind of get to pick and choose again. How much of this do you want to use? Where do you want to go with it? Just taking my darkest areas, even some of those little coarse shadows like in her nose. That'll just make that nose kind of come through a little bit. And that indigo blue over the top of the purple, over the top of that mulberry. It's really very pretty. It's got a nice tone to it. While I'm here, I might as well do some of those eyelashes. That is going to increase your contrast. It just makes it pop. That contrast is just going to boom. I'll probably end up coming back into this with some more purple. Maybe at some point you think, well, I really want it to go darker. You could use black. If you do use black, just make sure that you do another color on top of it. Black by itself is not a great color. Well, black technically isn't a color. It's in all the colors mixed together. When you're dealing with light, black is an absence of light, therefore an absence of color. When you're doing eyes, one thing that'll make your eyes really look alive is that idea that you've got a dark edge around the iris, you've got your dark pupil, and then right below, on the very bottom part of your eye, if you leave that out just a little bit, that kind of looks like a shine. Makes your eye look a little more alive. Again, I'm not doing this indigo blue everywhere, just in the darkest areas. And you get to pick and choose. You are the master of your drawing. You are not stuck with anything. It becomes what you want it to become. Here's one of those instances where I put too much in there. Grab some of that and pull it back out. See if I can get back down to most of that color of that board. Blue. And again, that blue, just you pick and choose how much of that you want to put in there. Just in the darkest areas. Sometimes it becomes too powerful and kind of starts to overtake things. So start out lightly. You can always add more later. Last but not least, in that shadow, I'm going to go back into it with my purple. And just that purple, I want that purple to be as dominant. So I'm going to go over the top of the indigo blue in some places. I do want it to kind of dominate. Your yellow ochre is just going to warm things up. So I'm going to go in with some yellow ochre and poppy red. So a little bit of yellow ochre everywhere but in the highlights. Look how that warms right up. And against that purple, it just punches. And then that poppy red along with that too. Over the purple, over the yellow. It looks lovely. And that you can put like lots of different places. This is that poppy red. It's wonderful, especially to transition between your cool of your shadows and the warm of your light. Just a little bit of that here and there. But look how that just warms it right up. And the last thing you're going to do is just add a little bit of white to it where your highlights are. Tip of the nose, there's a little highlight right in that area right there. That is going to increase your form, really make it pop. A little bit right in there. See how that little bit of light just made it pop, made it come out. Light tends to come forward, dark things tend to go back. Just the white over the yellow. White by itself becomes kind of chalky, so you may want to go back into that with some yellow here and there. Just a little bit of white here and there to just lighten it up. Edges, anytime, any highlight areas. You do a little bit of white in the hair if you wanted to. just here and there. When you layer that cream in there, you think, wow, that's enough. But it really isn't. A little bit of that white just makes it pop, makes it come through. And really, that's all this is just layering in the colors where you feel like you need them, but keeping the lights and darks, keeping that form coming through. A little more poppy here and there, and you got it. I like to put a little bit of blue in that shadow too. So again, we're trying to kind of finish this up, get to that point where we think we can be done with it. And you work as long as you want to on it. You know, if we had a couple more hours, we'd probably get much farther along on this and have it look better. But right now, this is what we got. This is the time we got. The more you work on it, though, the smoother things get, the more precise things get. You just keep adding color in like crazy, whatever you want to do to it. Don't forget your contrast. That's what I really like about that indigo blue. That is our contrast. That's what helps us. And yeah, you can use a little bit of black in there if you wanted to. That is up to you. Colors are up to you. What isn't necessarily up to you are the values. They're kind of already given to you. So you really have to watch those values. Do as much as you can to preserve those values using color. This is that mulberry color. You can do a lot with that mulberry color. It's kind of a reddish purple. Red violet. Red violet is one of your neutral temperatures colors. And they're lovely to transition between the cool colors of your shadows and the warm colors of your light. I keep that going in there. Our paper is that nice kind of a lavender color. You want to keep that kind of going too. You don't want to put so much on there that you're taking that out. But you want to keep that nice, and that helps to unify your subject matter, front and back, your background, your foreground. All that is unified by that background color. I wanted to add a little bit of blue even into that. Over the top of that magenta, that blue is going to be really pretty. And you can do a little bit of that. This is cerulean blue. And that makes a lovely Lovely shadow as well. And over the purple, it goes very well over the purple. Of course, blue and orange are complementary colors, as is violet and yellow. So we've got some double complements going on in here. And if by happenstance that blue goes over some of that yellow, it's going to turn green. And you got a little bit of that poppy red. There's your complements there. All that's going to go together and hopefully work together. And again, what's important? Your values. Sometimes you have just a little bit of color you probably didn't expect, just kind of poking through, peeking through. Remember, you're creating art, not creating a photograph. Don't care about the natural color, the local color that's there. If you wanted this to have a little bit more contrast, you can definitely use some darker values. You can even go over it with black and put some black in there if you wanted to. Just make sure you have another color over that black. The last color you layer in is going to be your dominant color. Once you get the face done, that's the most important part. You know, as long as your proportions are fairly correct and things are looking pretty good that way, you can always kind of fudge some of the others. You can go back in, be a little looser, not worry too much about making exact structure. Some of those other little areas. As far as the hair goes, remember, just do the dark areas. Go from the dark into the light with your pencil. And sometimes you'll need to go from the light into the dark and just give that texture that the hair is so known for. Just a few little darks and lights here and there, and you got it. Don't be too concerned, you know, and don't do what, I mean, a lot of people feel like hair is kind of like spaghetti and you got to dry every little noodle. You don't, you know, when they plop that spaghetti on your plate, it's a shape. It's a mass. And hair is the same way. It's just a mass, just a shape. And you take care of it the best way you can with lights and darks. Think of it like that, like a mass of value, lights and darks. Now, this is a little bit of that yellow ochre. Yellow ochre over the purple is going to turn it kind of a red-brown. It's a beautiful, beautiful color. Try to avoid the highlights, but that yellow is going to create a medium tone. Now, it may go over some of that purple or indigo blue that we put in there. That's going to tone it down. Indigo blue is going to turn kind of green. Again, it's okay. You've got this kind of surprise color that you're getting in there, and you just say, hey, that's kind of neat. Nothing wrong with some of that color that's stuck in there that you didn't choose, you didn't plan, it just kind of happened. It's part of that spontaneity, part of that fun kind of stuff that's going on in that hair. Just have fun with it. Again, just kind of think cool colors in the shadows, warm colors in the light. There's some blue down in here. I'm going to put this blue over here in the shadows. And if there's a little yellow over there, and blue hits it and it turns green, that's just fine. You know it's going to happen, right? You almost plan it. You almost say, well, I kind of want that to happen. It's kind of nice. And that poppy red is so nice. Even over the purple, that poppy red is nice. And that magenta, mulberry, I guess is what this is called, but into that shadow creates a lovely color. And then we'll go back into that with some deep purple or indigo blue, and get that lovely shadow down the arm. There's some indigo blue. Do that core shadow that kind of runs down through there. Again, we can work on this more if we want to, but just about out of time here. We've given ourselves about an hour to work on this. And if you're just practicing, if you're trying to figure out how to do things, depending on the amount of time you've got, you can spare an hour. Love to have you drawing with me, by the way. Appreciate you joining me on this little journey. Sometimes it's fun to do things by yourself. And other times it's fun to have people along. Appreciate you coming, doing these types of things with me. Again, we're not trying to get our masterpiece here. This is practice. I had an illustrating professor years and years ago that told me I should throw away. Well, he told me to burn. You should burn your first 500 pieces. Because you never really get good until you've done 500 pieces or more. But one of these days, with enough practice, it'll come. What's the last thing you do? That's right, you sign it. Art makes life better. Thanks again. I hope you have a lovely day.